So our first beer is Samuel Smith's Winter Welcome. It is one of my favorite beers of the season. It's a beer that I always look forward to as winter approaches. It's just a lovely English style old ale. Great malty, a little bit fruity, just gentle, easy English style ale that's rich and warm and lovely. So I chose this beer for this reading because a major theme of the book or of the reading is arriving in a new place, and a place that seems exciting and welcoming. And part of this new place is the introduction of winter, which the speaker has never experienced before. So it's the idea of, being welcomed or welcome a new place and the arrival of winter. Winter welcome. So, Shawn, cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Sorry. I'm curious, Laura, if you like this one. I think you should.
I think I do like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely been some I like a whole lot more, but I do like this one. And
this one, I don't know how yours is. Mine, I took these out of the fridge just a few minutes ago, and this is colder than it really wants to be.
I've got mine sitting in a bucket of ice again.
Oh, take it out of the ice. Don't put it in ice.
No,
that's out of that ice.
It's out. It's gone. So that's not a beer you want to drink cold.
None of them. You don't want any of these super cold. Get them all out of the ice.
They're all out. Okay. All right. They're all out of the ice.
Awesome.
So I do like
to everybody out there, most beer, except for crappy American lagers, don't want to be super cold.
Okay. So
Shawn, go ahead. Give us the reading.
Okay, great. Well, again, in case I forget to mention later, thanks both of you guys for having me. And this first reading is from a chapter entitled Ghosts. The MC in this chapter is about a 7-year-old boy, more or less. So when you're listening to this reading, take it from that angle. Here we go. My first memories of Norfolk, Nebraska were of all the ghosts. They were in every front yard like forlorn guardians of their respective houses. I found out later that they weren't ghosts at all. We moved to Norfolk in the fall of 1978, by coincidence at the same time as the first frost of the season. Everyone had covered their rose bushes and other plants with white sheets in order to prolong their battle against the bitterness of the fast approaching Nebraska winter. It was a battle that the residents of the town could not hope to win. They could do little more than lengthen the signs of summer, a slight extension, but nothing more. We moved to Norfolk from Clovis, New Mexico. Clovis had no rosebush rescuing ghosts that I knew of. There really was no need for such things in Clovis. It was not a cold weather town like Norfolk. I remember being excited to move north. It was a new place and an opportunity for new adventures. Dad, I asked, when it snows, can I go sledding? I had never been sledding before in my life, but if TV had taught me anything, it was that sledding was the creme de la creme of childhood wintertime experiences. My dad let out a sigh. Back then, I did not understand why this question tired him so. Now, of course, I understand that such inquiries, asked 1,000 times by an overly excited kid, can drive an adult bonkers. I asked again, making it the 1,001st time. He nodded. I was satisfied with that answer until the next time I felt the need to ask. I always give kudos to my parents. I was a child who required extra patience on their part, and they always did their best with me, even when on occasion I stretched their last nerves to the breaking point. Even back then at the tender age of 7, I knew that I was different. Being different is not a bad thing necessarily, but it did sometimes require extra patience on the part of others. Remember, this was all back in the 70s. If I was that age now, I suppose doctors would have diagnosed me with some sort of attention deficit disorder. Back then, however, such diagnoses often went undiscovered. The year prior to moving to Norfolk was my first great experience. I don't remember it being much fun. I tried to pay attention, honest I did, but in the end I usually zoned out, tuned out, and was left out. As an example, if I had a dime for every time my teacher in Clovis asked me if I was going to eat my Thai for lunch because I had forgotten to bring my Superman lunchbox along with me to the cafeteria, well, I suppose I would have quite a pile of dimes today. Yes, that's correct. I wore ties to the first grade. More precisely, I wore bolo ties. I really don't know the reason as to why my mother insisted on this. None of the other kids' mothers made their children wear them. I guess she thought that such fashion statements were suave and sophisticated. Of course, my classmates had other opinions of my tie wearing habit and made every attempt to make sure I knew it. Two sides to every coin, I suppose. But that was last year. That was back in Clovis. Now I could get a fresh start and put my bolo tie wearing days behind me. I had a positive vibe rolling around inside of me as we entered Norfolk for the very first time with all of our belongings piled in the back of a U-Haul trailer. We entered the city limits and passed a billboard stating that Norfolk was the hometown of Johnny Carson, which I thought was pretty cool. It was kind of like moving to Hollywood, not too shabby for a bolo tie wearing kid from Clovis. So we drove past the many ghostly rose bushes. We drove down First Street toward my new home and toward an adventure that I could never anticipated, not in a million years.
Excellent. You know, one of the things that I really like about this is you did capture the 7-year-old's kind of view of things, and yet you also captured the adult looking back and reflecting on his childhood. And I thought you did that really well. So another thing that jumped out at me, because I don't know if we've ever really discussed this, you pronounce it Norfolk, but it's spelled Norfolk, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. And I grew up in Norfolk, so I'm from Norfolk originally. Right. That's my hometown. And if you're from Norfolk, you say Norfolk, even though it's spelled Norfolk. And the reason being is the town was settled by German Americans back in the 1800s. And at the time, they named the town based on the fact that it was on the North Fork of the Elkhorn River. Okay. And they submitted it to the maps, or I don't know what the official term was, whoever puts it in the maps, they misspelled it like Norfolk, Virginia.
Interesting.
So if you're from Norfolk, you call it Norfolk.
Okay, but, because you know the history. Well, why it's so interesting to me is because not only did I live in Norfolk, Virginia, and I pronounce it Norfolk, but one of our prior guests, Donna Isaac, the poet, she also grew up in the military, and she lived in that area for a long time. And so she pronounces it and told me everybody who actually lives there pronounces it more like Norfolk.
Yep.
So it's just kind of funny to see, you know, whether it's regional differences or in this case, that there's an actual history behind it. It's not just, you know, a Midwest dialect or pronunciation versus East Coast.
Yeah, so, and it's interesting you picked up on that, because me in reading it, it's just such a natural way that I say it. I don't even think that it's not pronounced the way it's spelled, but that's correct.
And, you know, even after Donna told me it's really pronounced Norfolk, more like that, like I just can't bring myself to say that. Because in my head, it's always been Norfolk. So I have a hard time with that because I know I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I can't quite get my tongue around the way it's really pronounced. So you, and this entire book, My Gypsy War Diary, is set in Norfolk, Nebraska. How old were you when you moved there?
I was a little bit younger than what I put the character. Okay. I believe I moved there. It was around 1977, and I would have been 5 years old at the time. So, okay. But you know, it is very loosely based on my memories. I did happen to find this the other day. I do actually still have my Superman lunchbox.
Oh, funny.
So, yeah. So that part was real. I really do have a Superman lunchbox.
Hang on, hold that up again. I want to snap a picture of that.
Sure. There we go. Now you'll notice, you know, a lot of people think these things are worth something. Mine probably not. You'll notice that about 40 years ago, I thought Superman needed some help, so I put a Hong Kong Phooey puppy sticker right on the building. Probably devalued it, but it's a one of a kind for sure, because none of the other Superman lunchboxes have Hong Kong Phooey on there.
You can't make it worth more or worth less.